trademark. There you go. Welcome everybody to our number 8, the 8th installment of our Facebook Lives on Monday nights. As you well know, these Facebook Lives are sponsored by Five Rivers Historic Preservation, Inc. And tonight, my name is Linda Boland. I'm accompanied by John Allen French, who is our director and also our cameraman, and producer Nathan Camp. They are both members and officers in Five Rivers Historic Preservation, and I'm an old member, an emeritus member, as is our tour guide tonight, who I'll introduce you to in a minute. If you have an interest in history, or if you just love Pocahontas and Randolph County, we'd love for you to join our organization, Five Rivers Historic Preservation, Inc. You can get in touch with John Allen or Nathan or me, and we'll tell you how to do it. And it's a lot of fun. There's a whole lot to do. Tonight, Pocahontas is a great place for a vacation or even a staycation. And we are at the historic building of the Lesmeister Guesthouse. And we're going to get a tour of all 5 units of the Lesmeister Guesthouse tonight. And so I'm going to introduce to you now our tour guide, Dr. Pat Carroll.
A hand, yes. Thank you. Our story begins, I guess, in 1880 when Heinrich Lesmeister and his wife Martha immigrated to Ohio from Essen, Germany. Essen is the steel-making center of Germany, and Heinrich apparently knew a lot about steel because there's a lot of steel in this old building. In 1900, they moved from Ohio to Pocahontas, and in 1902, they bought this property and put up this building. Their son was about 24 by then, Heinrich Jr., and he was an architect who designed several buildings in Pocahontas and later moved on to Jonesboro, where he worked, and ended up in Memphis designing buildings. They also had a daughter, Teresa. And Teresa married Hubert Peters of Pocahontas. And their daughter was Mary Peters, who became, when she married, Mary Burke. And Mary Burke established Burke's Shop on the square in the building they also owned, adjacent to this building but facing the old courthouse, and ran Burke's Shop there. When Mary Burke died, the property passed on to her daughter, Mary Frances, who had married Jim Brackett. So Mary Frances and Jim Brackett ran Burke's Shop until they retired in about the 90s, but they still owned this building. Then our story moves on to 2010, when I was lucky enough to take a trip to Italy with some friends. We went to Umbria and Tuscany and stayed in all these old buildings, 800-year-old buildings with huge stone construction that had been restored outside, but inside they had added electricity and plumbing and all the modern amenities. And when I came home from that trip, I was dying to do something like that in Pocahontas, so people who visited Pocahontas could enjoy a small town the way I did the small towns in Tuscany. So I drove around town, and as I came up Pyburn Street, up the big hill by the old Imperial Theater, I saw the huge limestone foundation of this building and the building beside it, and I said, that's Umbria. That's Tuscany. I want that for Pocahontas. And it took me 3 years to negotiate and buy this building, to hire an architect, Tommy Jameson, in Little Rock. He's the architect who restored the old Wolf House at Norfolk, who restored the Rice House and the Looney Tavern here in Randolph County. the state's expert on restoring old buildings, and he knew exactly what I needed to do here. So a year of planning, followed by a year and a half of construction. I hired Pink Bolts as the contractor with Brian Shore, his job foreman. Jeff Jansen and several other locals did this whole project. All of the tile, all of the plumbing, all the electrical, everything in this building except the sprinkler system, the fire suppression system, was done by local people, by Randolph County people. And I'm very proud of that. So we opened in 2013 with 2 apartments. I'd planned to put 4 apartments, but it was so expensive, I said, let's do 2 first and see how it goes. And they did well. They stayed busy. So I added 3 more units in 2015. They're suites. They're not full apartments in that they don't have full kitchens. The apartments have full-size refrigerators, dishwashers, ranges with ovens. You could live there. The suites are a little smaller, but I was able to get 3 in the other half of the building, and they have everything you need for a shorter stay. So first, I'm going to take you into the Henry Morton Stanley Suite. It's the smallest one, but it's a little bit tight, so I'm going to do it myself so we can have social distancing and John Allen stays safe.
Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Okay, we got it. Okay, so this is the entry to the Stanley Suite. I put in a ceiling fan so people could sit out on their little patio and enjoy the sounds of Highway 67. So we enter the Henry M. Stanley Suite. We enter into the bedroom, which has a king-size bed, television, desk, and each suite has a mini fridge, a small ice maker that really works, a coffee maker, and a microwave, and a closet. These stairs are original to the building, and we just left them the way they built them in 1902, bare concrete. As we go upstairs a few steps to the living area, which has a gas fireplace, television, brochures of things to see and do in Randolph County, and of course a couple of recliners. Ceiling fan, and that's the original ceiling, which has been up there since 1902. In each unit, I have some photos showing how things used to look here, how they look now. And into the bathroom. Which also has a television. Several years ago, I stayed at the hotel at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, and they had a television in the bathroom, and I said, that is life. So all the bathrooms have a television. Shower, big jet tub. I was planning to have it going with water so you could see it, but I decided it was too expensive to spin the water. Each unit has a washer and dryer. Each one has a towel warmer. I learned about those when I visited Sweden. They warm your towel and dry it. Now this is interesting. All the old buildings in downtown Pocahontas and everywhere have these wrought iron vents that cool the attic. When I bought the building, it is 3 of the 4 vents were there. 1 was boarded up missing. So my architect found a matching vent, exact match, from a company in Connecticut, and we put it in. Then later in the attic, we found the original vent. That's it. So I decided to have it built into the wall here in the Stanley Suite bathroom. The floors are all heated tile, and the toilet seats are heated. And that's pretty much the Stanley Suite. Which, when I built it, I was afraid a lot of people would think it's a little bit claustrophobic in here. It's a little bit tight, but people just love it. People who stay here stay time after time and always come back to this unit because it's, I guess, what you'd call cozy. Here's another of my old pictures, the modern view and how it used to look. So that's the Stanley Suite. We're going now to the, I didn't tell you about Stanley. Wait. I named it for Henry Morton Stanley, Sir Henry Morton Stanley, who was a Welshman. He came to Pocahontas, he came to America on a ship as a teenager looking for adventure. He arrived in New Orleans. He traveled up the Mississippi, up the White River, up the Black River, ended up at Pocahontas, where he joined the Confederate Army during the Civil War. He was sent up to Pittman's Ferry, where he served in a skirmish, went on with the Confederate Army to Shiloh, the Battle of Shiloh. He switched sides and joined the forces of the United States. Apparently, he was here for adventure, not necessarily patriotism, or maybe he decided to become a patriotic American and join the United States forces. At any rate, later in life, he went on to Africa looking for Dr. Livingstone, who had been missing for years and feared dead. He found him and uttered the famous words, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. And that's the story of Henry Morton Stanley. He was quite a character. We're going now up to the Demund Suite with another character. Okay, the Demund Suite has a nice deck, so people can enjoy a view of the nature of downtown Pocahontas.
The wildlife. Hey, the wildlife.
And the wildlife, being a few stray cats. We're going in the Louis Demund Suite. The Demund Suite is named for Louis Demund, a Frenchman who came here after adventures with Aaron Burr during the early years of the United States. Demund was county clerk of Randolph County. Demund built the mill on Mill Creek that gives Mill Creek its name. So this suite has a similar king-size bed. Big windows, because in the day this building was built, there was no electricity in Pocahontas. All they had was natural sunlight and oil lamps. As I said, each unit has the refrigerator, ice maker, coffee maker, and microwave. Each unit has a desk, so you can get some work done if you have to. Each unit has a giraffe. When I was furnishing the place. We went to Pier 1 Imports, and when I saw the giraffe, I said, I've got to have it. Now, each unit has some art on the walls from the era the building was built. So this painting, this is a copy of a painting that was done in the era of 1902 when the building was built. Here we see the old Carter House and how it looks now. We have some artwork by local artist Drew Harris. And we have this little sitting area with 2 recliners, fireplace. All the furnishings in here were picked out, selected by my friends Linda Bolin and Kathy Smith. They do all the picking, and the architect picked all the wall colors because I don't do colors, but they are good at it. All the colors are selected from a color palette, Sherwin-Williams color palette of the era 1902. So all the colors you see in the guest house would have been authentically in 1902. And on into this unit's bathroom. It's similar to the one we just visited, with the shower. Each unit has a shower and a jet tub and a washer and dryer and a towel warmer and a television. Lots of televisions at the Lesmeister. I know what's important. So next we're going on to the largest unit. It's an apartment, the Laurel Apartment. Okay, the Laurel, I named it for the Laurel steamboat, which was the first steamboat to make it to Pocahontas up the Black River in 1829. And the story is, the Laurel arrived down here in the port of Pocahontas, blew its big steam whistle. It scared the local hogs to death, and Thomas Drew's hogs ran wild into the wilderness and became the Arkansas Razorbacks. So we see another nice deck to look out on the wilderness of downtown Pocahontas. Let me tell you, right now the Laurel Apartment is occupied by some local people whose home was flooded when a water pipe broke in their upstairs while they were gone, flooded the place. So their insurance company has been kind enough to put them up here in the Laurel Apartment while their house is completely gutted and rebuilt inside. So when we go in, it's not going to look exactly like it normally does for guests, because all of their boxes of stuff, a lot of their furniture is crowded in here, but you'll get the general idea of the Laurel. Okay, as I said, this is the largest unit. The apartments have a wood-burning stove rather than a gas fireplace the way the suites do, but everywhere has original ceilings. These ceilings, when I bought the building, were all hidden by drop-down ceilings that hid everything above, and I got a long pole and lifted one of the suspended ceiling panels and looked up and saw these ornate, they call them tin ceilings, and I was just excited. In fact, after I bought it, one of the realtors told me he almost bought it just for the ceilings because the ceiling panels were worth more than what I paid for the building. Okay, this is the full kitchen with full-size appliances. So this is a place you could live. Large dining table, more art on the wall. Picasso painted this in the period of the building, 1902. This one is Theodore Roosevelt, who was president when this building was built, and he's standing on a staircase at the White House. And so I put it over a staircase here in this building. The artist that was trying to paint his presidential portrait said, "Mr. President, you just don't know how to pose for a picture," because he kept moving around and wouldn't cooperate. And they were going upstairs at the time. Roosevelt turned around, put his hand on the rail and said, "Oh, don't I?" And this is the pose that made his presidential portrait. It's decorated. Linda Bolin contributed several old law books to just give the feel of the place. The bathroom is like the others. They're all alike, and no two are alike, you might say. They all have similar features, similar floors, jet tubs, whatnot. This painting was done by Bootsy Beret. It's, as I say, everything in the building is either from the era of the building or from a local artist, like the painting we saw from Drew Harris earlier. And in here is the washer and dryer full size for this unit. Okay, more old steps, original to the building, just like when I bought it. We didn't do a thing with them, but they're perfectly comfortable to walk on. We're going down into the bedroom. And here's where you see all of the supplies and furniture from the people who are staying here right now. But I want to show you the most talked about feature of the Laurel Apartment is this cistern. It's 20 feet deep, would hold 6,000 gallons of water, and we didn't even know it was here. When I bought the building, this room had a concrete floor, but it was rough concrete and a little bit on an angle. So we jackhammered out the old concrete, and at one point the jackhammer dropped into empty space, and they enlarged the hole and looked and found this huge cistern that still has water in the deepest part. Originally, when this building was built, there was no water system in Pocahontas. If you needed water, you either walked to Black River or you built a cistern or a well. So everywhere in town, all these old buildings, there's a cistern behind the old county museum. They hold water that's piped in from the roof when it rains. And then they had water. This was a grocery store originally, and we assume they used the cold water to keep the produce cold. But Pink Baltz said, "Well, you know, I can haul in a bunch of sand and fill that hole in, and we'll just pave over it." And I said, "No way. That's unique. We're going to keep that cistern." So I sent to California and got a piece of bulletproof glass. It's about 2 inches thick, and you can walk on it. Perfectly safe. And unfortunately, this time of year, condensation makes it a little hard to see. But it's quite a feature of the Lesmeister, and most people really enjoy it. We're going to go out now, the door back from the bedroom to where we started this whole thing. And, oh, there they are. we lost all of the rest of our group. Okay. So now, look at this same huge limestone foundation for the building next to me. This building was LMA's Creative Gallery, but after I bought the Lesmeister, my friend Gary Palmer, it's recommended we talk about the electric car chargers. I put in two, one for strictly for Teslas. This one will only fit Tesla electric cars. This one will fit any electric car. And it's very surprising how many people every month stop here and charge, because this is the only place to charge a Tesla between St. Louis and Little Rock, between Branson, Missouri and Nashville. It's halfway between those places, and those cars can make it here and no farther. So some of the people stay here, spend the night, but I also just let them charge and keep going, because I own an electric car, so I know how important it is to be able to charge when you've got to have one. Anyway, my friend Gary bought this building from LMA Kincaid and turned it into 2 apartments upstairs. There's room for another apartment downstairs through that door. All of these blocked up areas were once windows, so it could be a magnificent apartment downstairs. All of these on the side of the building, windows. So you're in a basement, but not really. You'd have a lot of light in there, and I've tried to get Gary to go ahead and put the 3rd apartment, and he's busy.
Pat, move the camera slower. 2 people are getting motion sick.
I have a lot to show. Okay, now we're on Marsh Street, named for Thomas O. Marr, one of the early settlers of our town. The front balcony of Gary's apartment, very well done. Wendell Hogan made me this bench with Lesmeister and the Lesmeister logo, and this is the Jeff Thompson Suite. It's named for a Confederate general who was captured by American forces in downtown Pocahontas during the Civil War, just around the corner at the old St. Charles Hotel. He spent a while in Union custody and then was traded in a prisoner exchange and came back and fought the rest of the war. So the Jeff Thompson Suite, the ceilings are 13 feet up there. King-size bed. That light came from the old Cox Wayman Funeral Home. We bought it when they sold out, and it just fit right in. This old horseshoe, when they jackhammered out the old sidewalk and were going to rebuild the sidewalk, they found a horseshoe under the old sidewalk that was here from probably 1902 when the building was built. But the Jeff Thompson Suite has a large living area with, again, the gas fireplace, has a dining table, recliners. Every one of the units has a little exercise equipment, one of these exercise balls and a yoga mat and a giraffe. So this is the corner across the street, the old Hamill building, the Hamill block, and the same view of how that area looks now. I wish we could put it all back, but times change. This is the Jeff Thompson bathroom with its big jet tub. It has a larger shower than the others because it's a big room. And to zoom in, that's Tommy Jameson, the architect, on the left, me in the center, and Pink Balls on the right, winning a State Historic Preservation Award back in 2014 for the Lesmeister project. I'll go over and we'll pay a brief visit with Jeff Thompson. That's the general. He was said to be quite a character. This is the old St. Charles Hotel where he was captured during the war. He had made it his headquarters in town. And it's on the location that's now called the Old Hotel. The Lou Allen Building used to be Boland Furniture. And it occupied about 2/3 of the block. It was by far the biggest hotel in this part of the state at the time. That's his signature. Okay, we have one more to go, and it's the Julia Dean Apartment. I named the Julia Dean after the famous steamboat Julia Dean that used to come up to Pocahontas and bring supplies until it sank once on what's called the Julia Dean Bar on Black River down toward Black Rock. I don't know if you can see, but the lights over the street, I paid for the lights. Gary Palmer furnished the steel cables they hang from, and they hang from his building there and from Kevin Barnes' family's building here that's Gypsy Girl, our neighbors. And we'll go now into the Julia Dean Apartment. It's a little smaller than the Laurel Apartment, but a lot of people like it best. And that painting was, actually I guess a charcoal drawing, was done about the time the building was built by Gustav Klimt. And I positioned it so when people opened the door and came in, she would be looking at them. This picture, I bought this copy at the museum over at Bentonville, and it's called Jessica Penn in Black with White Plumes, and she was actually a prostitute who the artist dressed up to be a lady for the painting, and it caught my interest. And it was done about the time this building was built. In the Julia Dean's dining area, we have another Bootsy Beret painting. Another full kitchen. The two apartments have sofa beds which open out to make a queen-size bed. So in addition to the king-size bed each unit has, there's also another place to sleep. In the 3 suites, I have air mattresses that inflate and make beds probably as comfortable or more comfortable than the sofa bed, and people have done quite well with them. The giraffe. This is the only one whose bedroom is not right by a window. And it's because it has a wide enough space that it's by code, it's part of the living room, which has a door and windows. Every unit has to, by code, have the bedroom where there's a door or window, means of escape in case of fire. So that means each bathroom is out in the center of the building where they can have no windows. And I didn't show you in the others, but every unit has a skylight way up there to let in natural light into the bathroom. These two pencil drawings were done by Jan Rogers, who worked for us as a waitress at the patio restaurant back when we had that. And Jan lived in southern Missouri and with several chickens in the house with her. She was quite a character, but she was a very talented artist. This is my handicap accessible unit. For the size of my building, I'm required to have one accessible, so it's quite large, the bathroom, with the hand bars, the grab bars in the bathtub and around the toilet. And the lavatory is made where a wheelchair has room to roll up under it. Our towel warmer, as always. This unit has full-size washer and dryer. And back into the kitchen, which the kitchen also has no cabinetry below, so a wheelchair could roll up to wash dishes and use the sink if need be. So, that's your tour of the Lesmeister Guesthouse. I'll go back and find the others in case anybody had any questions. I guess not. There's nobody here. But I will say in closing that 25% of the cost of this project was paid by the state of Arkansas through tax credits on state income taxes. 20% of the cost of the building was paid by federal tax credits. So 45% overall of the cost of my project was paid for me by the taxpayers, and that's all that lets old buildings like this be restored and kept, because it's generally cheaper to bulldoze it and start new with something cheaply made and cheap. But to save these old buildings, the tax credits make all the difference. Across the street is a building my sister restored, and she received federal and state tax credits to do that project. And I've tried to convince several people around town to do the same thing. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars given to you to save these buildings. So far, my sister and I are the only ones who've done it.
Next week, we'll see you at the museum.